So it's my pleasure to introduce Donna. So Donna, if you're here, please join us.
I am here. Let's just make sure this all works.
Hey, Donna.
So is that working?
I can see it. So Donna is, for those of you who don't know, and it's hard to imagine that you don't, is the owner of Dairy and Food Communications, a company that specializes in business writing, speaking, and consulting projects in the dairy, beverage, and food industries. She's got a bachelor's in food science from the University of Illinois and product development experience with Kraft Foods. She's been tracking consumer behaviors and food trends for 25 years, writing about dairy in a range of food and dairy publications, as well as on her own Berry on Dairy website and its associated widely read newsletter of the same name. So please join me in welcoming Donna Berry.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here. I need to apologize up front if you hear noises in the background. I had a little bit of a family emergency that took me out of town, and I'm in a hotel room, and you never know. The fire alarm could go off, or someone could be knocking, or some kid can be screaming in the hallway. So my apologies for that up front, but thank you so much for joining me. And I want to let you know that if you think it's challenging to be sitting in front of a screen and watching me, it's even more challenging for me to be sitting in a screen and talking to you, because I really do like to see people's expressions when they shake their head, yes, she's saying something sensible, or no, this woman is on something, hopefully you will be shaking your head in affirmation with what I'm going to be talking about today, as well as smiling with some of the fun things that I will reveal to you. But nevertheless, I think there's a lot of opportunities for all of us right now in this space, kind of as we get out of this pandemic, right? So let's go ahead and begin. Let's try to see if this, it worked. This is always a good thing when technology works, which has become such a big part of our life, right? So it's the best of times and the worst of times, right? It's time to pivot to be part of the best. Today, I did a lot of pivoting. I will someday share this with you in person, but I have been to 3 different hotels in one day to make sure that this worked. But nevertheless, it's the time to reinvent dairy. We know that consumers loved our stuff when they were in lockdown. We need to make sure that they continue to love it. So we need to know what it is that they want, what it is that they're looking for, right? Some of the new habits that we formed during this past year, they're here to stay, right? I mean, the pandemic accelerated a trend that was already in the works of consumers' commitment to buying products that are meaningful to them, that reflect what they believe. And so we need to make sure that we deliver on that. I like to use the words, I said pivot, but also agility, the ability to change quickly and figure it out, right? So let's use this pandemic as, pandemic crisis as a stepping stone to move on to what is going to be the new normal. So I'm going to introduce you to a new term, which, though, if you did read my blog on Friday, it would not be new. Or if you participated in IDFA's yogurt conference or ice cream conference over the past week, it won't be new. But nevertheless, it is very important. There was pandemic spending, right? A year ago at this time, we were, jumping for that last roll of toilet paper, trying to get hand sanitizer. You know what I'm talking about, a year ago. But right now we are entering what they're calling revenge spending. Okay, so Bloomberg estimates that $1.7 trillion was saved or hoarded or whatever you want to call it this past year because we weren't spending money on eating out, entertainment, activities. Who the heck needed to buy clothes the past year, right? Or at least just from the top up for these Zoom calls. This is the strongest amount in 70 years of money that has been hoarded and needs to go back into the economy. Economists are referring to this actually as a K-shaped recovery because while more than 20 million jobs were lost during COVID, the unemployment packages people have been getting and the stimulus payments, there's about also now 80% of people who are flush with cash. This K-shaped is that there's a few on the bottom who are not doing well, but a lot of these folks now have money and they want to spend, and they're looking to indulge and treat themselves a little bit. Premium products, trading up, experimenting with new products that they maybe wouldn't have tried before, and willing to pay a little bit more for them. And again, like I said, more technology fluent than ever before. I had to put this up. I actually shared this with my ice cream presentation that I gave last week for IDFA. And it's just really funny how like so many of us could get stuck in a rut. So if anyone who's been around long enough to know, like, you know, freezers only came around or home freezers only came around like, you know, in the 30s, 40s or so. Even delivering ice cream to the home. So there was the far right, you can see an association of ice and salt cabinet manufacturers. And they were really excited to tell everyone, it's the best thing to do. These freezers that they're talking about, no, it's not something. You know, ice and salt cabinets are the best. It's the most logical buy. Okay, folks, well, we all know where that went, right? So it's that kind of mindset that many historically in the dairy industry have not been able to break that barrier. And we need to do it. I mean, it's happening, right? So, you know, I put the Flintstones up here because the beauty of food is we all need to eat, and even cave people ate. I happen to have loved the Flintstones, but we're not really going to go back to what the Flintstones did with these shopping carts and bags, with the way technology is fueling the way we purchase food and prepare food. We definitely, in this past year, have become so much more like the Jetsons. I mean, if the pandemic hadn't happened, maybe this would have been slower to catch on. But right now, we are here. I mean, granted, you're not pressing a button and a pizza's not flying out, but, you know, we do have this going on, and that's not much different. I mean, we have drones, robots, Grubhub, pay and pick up. I am using Grubhub for my dinner tonight. I'll just let you know, because I'm not leaving this room. But nevertheless, this is the wave of the future, and we got here a lot quicker than we thought. And guess what? We figured it out. Again, those words, pivot and agility, making it happen quick, and we need to continue. So part of this continuation as we go forward, this new norm, which we do not really know what it is. I mean, none of us knew where we were going with this, but we do know that people feel passionate about the foods they eat. And we need to start trying to reinvent different experiences for them. And they want to know more about their products. And we're in a really good spot to do that, because there's a lot trending in our favor with everything from locality, stories, simple, even the sustainability platform, which I know somebody is speaking on soon. These are good messages that we can tell. So I want to get us to a point where I say innovation is no longer a luxury. So if you thought the past year was a little nutso, I've been hearing that the next 12 months will be the most wild ride of your life as we start to experience this revenge spending. Now, it might all change in 2 years, and most likely it will change. But now is the time to really get involved and get into this to make dairy relevant. I mean, you need to get your brand out there in every way, shape, flavor, and form as possible, okay? The fad right now is you need to produce products for spenders. They want to play and they want to pay for it. While there is a looming recession, right now there's also pent-up energy to explore, and dairy products need to make sure that they stay relevant, because guess what? The other folks are doing it, right? So the new norm is a non-linear world. No one really is following any rules. You have dairy processors making plant-based products. You have plant-based products making dairy products sometimes right now. So no one is staying in their lane anymore. And this is thanks to advancements in ingredients, processing, packaging, distribution, and retailing technologies. You cannot afford to have a finite mindset, okay? So if you just develop, let's say, 4 new flavors of an ice cream for this ice cream season, I'll tell you right now, before those products even hit the store shelf, you should be developing 4 flavors that are going to be just for the autumn or just for Christmas, okay? 4 new flavors for after that. It is an ongoing process. You don't develop products, put them out there, and let them do their job all by themselves. It's constant new products, new innovations. So I'm going to take you through a bunch of products that have probably the past 2 years, simply because 2020 doesn't almost count. Products that did roll out in 2020 were pretty much already in the works, and they had a hard time gaining traction, many of them. I feel horrible for those brands and new products. You know, it's really difficult to get someone to try something new without getting them in the store, yet alone without sampling. But we've worked through that, right? There's a lot of technology right now with sampling, that you're getting couponing out for free products, even with home delivery, putting in a little sample of something that would be a non-perishable product. So we're starting to figure out and work with where we are right now. So let's go ahead and start and look at some products. And hopefully you're aware of most of these, because I have written about them, but you may have forgotten about them or scanned them through them quickly. So Dairy Farmers of America was the first, and still pretty much the only one to be doing this. They are, and it's Dairy Farmers of America through the Kemp's division and under this Live Real Farms brand, a lactose-free product where they're combining dairy with plants. So with either almond or oats, with flavor or not, and with sweetener or not. And it's a product that is going after the consumer. So many households right now have products for the non-dairy consumer, for the dairy consumer, and then there's some consumers who just want a little bit of both, and they really value and respect the nutrition that dairy brings to the beverage, but they also respect and appreciate what the plant portion delivers too. So they're working on this product. Like I say, it rolled out right before the pandemic. So it's a tough, it'll be a tough ride for them, but I do think that if anyone can pull it off, DFA can. Then we have, these are also blended type products. So Shamrock has a dairy milk with coconut, and then with coconut and almond. So it is a little bit like the DFA product, but it's a single serve product. It's just based on chocolate. It's called swirled, so it's given this trivial name to make it fun. So it's more of a beverage than a milk product or a milk alternative product. Laughing Cow has this blends product where they have legumes and cheese spread together, and then even butter up here, Irish butter with olive oil. It's funny, when I was speaking earlier at the Ice Cream Tech and the Yogurt Conference, it was a little different approach that I took with the presentation, and we were addressing a lot of what's going on in the plant-based space. And again, we really don't know where this is going to go, and I'm going to maybe talk about this just a little bit towards the end, but the words plant-based are getting a little abusive in the food industry, or just in general. I mean, if you go into the cosmetics or personal care aisles, you can now see things like plant-based nail polish. Like, really? And, you know, then we have these terms, you know, in food, like plant-based butter. For all of you, that's margarine. And then there's something called plant-based leather. That's plastic, just so you know. So kind of crazy how that term is being used and abused, and it's probably going to do more harm to the category than we anticipate, but, you know, we can only wait and see. So here's some blending of products as well. Dairy proteins with oats. And then you have something like Chobani, which has a dairy beverage, a dairy coffee, as well as a no protein coffee, and then an oat milk product. And then this True Fit product is focusing on grass-fed protein and really emphasizing they emphasize the dairy component of it, but adding value through the grass-fed halo. Okay, so another way to be plant-based, and you know, it's I guess it's a little off there, but oh my gosh, this Peekaboo product is to die for. It's ice cream with hidden veggies, and there's like a quarter of serving or a half a serving per serving of vegetables in every serving of the ice cream. And then there's also this other one called Yum Actually, which are some single serve cups with hidden vegetables. So what else is going on? What's another way to be in the plant-based space without being actually non-dairy? So the Icelandic on the bottom here, we have fruits and nuts. YoPlate is just rolling out this smoothie blended product with yogurt, and it's 1/3 fruit, 2/3 dairy. And then this Too Good product is actually using rescued fruit, and it's a whole story. And it connects, again, I told you at the beginning how the pandemic really accelerated the trend of consumers purchasing based on things that they believe. And this whole thing of rescued fruit and ugly produce is resonating. So fruits, nuts, seeds, whole grains, more fruit, rescued fruit, definitely trending right now, and an opportunity to connect with the consumers and get their dollar. What else is going on in plant-based? Well, it's cheese, real cheese, and even real meat charcuterie, but with blueberries and almonds and olives or pretzels. And the amount of snack packs that are in this type of this space, it's just amazing how many are out there. Some of are for single use, some are for sharing, some are actually for putting out on a board. But again, the continuation of the evolution of this space and how it just keeps growing with new entries fascinates me. Okay, so this brings us to something that I'm not going to spend too much time on because I'm really not an authority to speak on it, but this is what you call cellular proteins, right? They are vegan, animal-free dairy proteins. It's a process, again, cellular technology, where you are producing whey proteins in a vat. And it's actually, if I know at first you're like, ooh, I don't understand, or that just is odd, but think a little bit about anyone who has been in cheese, in the cheese category, or even in yogurt. Well, not so much yogurt, but in the cheese category, when you're producing vats of starter culture. It's kind of like that, producing vats using cellular technology, and you're producing proteins, the same proteins that are the whey from animal. You're producing them just by having the cell grow on a medium. So here are two products in the marketplace right now. Brave Robot, which is a standalone name. Frankly, I think it's a great product. I'm not sure if the name could scare a few people off or just they'll embrace it. But nevertheless, great product, and they seem to be doing well, gaining distribution. And then Graders came out with Perfect Indulgence using that same cellular whey protein. So here's something else, making cheese into a more fortified snack, really to appeal to today's consumer who is looking for so much more from their food, as well as this concept of mindful snacking, getting more out of it. It is cheese, but the way it's formulated, they're referring to it as a dairy snack with either vitamins added or probiotics added. And then cheese has taken on so many more forms. Again, these are not necessarily, Crystal Farms, yes, is a cheese processor or a cheese marketer, but these Moon Cheese items here, they're purchasing cheese. When I talked about earlier about this non-linear world, here's somebody, and this, they're not the only ones, the Moon Cheese. There are probably about 10 different marketers out there who are buying cheese, just taking that cheese, maybe cheese seasoned, dehydrating it, and making it a snack food, a chip. So again, all of a sudden you have salty snack food manufacturers, they're cheese marketers now, because this is really 100% cheese and it's shelf stable. The dessert arena, this is something that historically I've always said is a very underdeveloped category in the United States, refrigerated dairy desserts. And with the pandemic and with us not being able to go out and bake, or I'm sorry, not being able to go out and get desserts, baking is going on, or I think actually now everyone's in baking and cooking fatigue. But nevertheless, Kraft Heinz really pivoted and got out these products really quick. These single serve desserts, some of them are cheesecake products, and then other ones are layered dairy desserts with various candies. Now, if you haven't learned about this product yet, I've written about it quite a few times. I highly encourage you to go to the website for Good Sport, because it's an amazing story and I don't have enough time to get into it all. But this is a clear, lightly colored beverage that is 97% dairy. Yes, you heard me correctly, 97% dairy. It's made from permeate. It's zero protein. So let the protein go to those other sports beverages. This is all about rehydrating, electrolytes, and vitamins. So again, if you're not aware of it, please go to the website. University of Wisconsin in Madison was very actively involved with the development of this product, and there's a lot of support behind it by the National Dairy Council. And so I'm really expecting it to go far. It is a shelf-stable product. But thinking again out of the box, like what can you do with whey or dairy protein? So here's two things that you might not have thought of. Wayward Spirit. It's actually an alcohol product made from whey. I'm not sure what the protein content of it is, but I can tell you there is whey in there. And there are a number of these hard coffees now in the marketplace, and a number of them have a creamy component, and it's not a plant. It's dairy. So we're seeing, we've always had Bailey's Irish Cream, right? And there's dairy in the Bailey's Irish Cream, but now we're seeing new versions of dairy making it into the 21 and older beverage segment. All right, so what else is going on? Products for kids are becoming, I talked about this earlier today at the yogurt conference, and I said, kids products are a booming category. Dairy has been a forerunner in it since Donna introduced Dan Animals, the little drinks, in 1994. And then Stonyfield introduced Yo Baby yogurt in 1999. And since then, brands have joined the trend, and they have compounded the ingredients that they're adding as well as the ingredients they're taking out. So, less sugar is paramount in a kid's product. Additions to it, this Growing Years product has DHA, omega-3s, choline, and prebiotics. Snacking, turning dairy or yogurt mostly into a snack bar. The YoPro product on the bottom, mixed berries nut protein bar. And then we have the one above, which is yogurt coated in chocolate. And Clio just came out, and I showcased it on Monday, I believe, a similar bar, but with a layer of granola in it. So again, playing dairy into plant-based by using, what did I say before? Nuts, seeds, whole grains, and then fruits and vegetables. More products. These are innovative beverages where dairy is not necessarily the focus. The Juicy Juice one is about 2 years old, and it's Juicy Juice with protein, with whey protein. And then a protein drink for kids, and then these fancy schmancy, as I would say, chocolate type beverages in cans for adults. This is actually a DFA product itself. And again, these don't look like your typical milk or dairy beverages, but they all rely on dairy proteins. Fairlife is just a brand that continues to amaze me, and I'm sure that most of you by now are fully aware of Fairlife. They have their regular Fairlife milk, and now they are in so many different places. They have protein beverages, they have high protein, low sugar flavored creamers. They have now a lactose-free product, which is basically lactose-free milk with less sugar, and they're not touting the higher protein in it like their mainstream product. And then they even entered into the ice cream category this year with a high protein ice cream. So building a brand, staying true to what it's all about, better for you. And as much as it's dairy, it's not the way grandpa's dairy used to be run. They aren't stuck on this legacy of what milk or what ice cream needs to look like. They've branched out. Another company that has done that extremely well is Shamrock Farms. They have their Rockin' Fuel franchise that has evolved tremendously over the last couple of years. The product in the far right where you see Lean, Builder, and Recovery, those are part of the original lines. In recent years, or most recently, they have the one in the middle, which is Energy, which is a caffeinated product, and then they have the Protein Plus with extra value added ingredients. I need to take a quick little sip of water. Okay, so probiotics. I mentioned earlier, that there are a lot of things that consumers were exposed to this past year during the pandemic, and they educated themselves on. And without a doubt, probiotics and immunity are here to stay. And it almost goes without saying that you're like a cultured product should have probiotics in it. You should be using a scientifically proven one so you can talk about the benefits. And protein as well is another component that will be very important going forward. Now here you can see Chobani has, they have their dairy-based products, they have a product for kids, and they even have some plant-based products to make sure that they are meeting the needs of everybody in a household. So here's some fun stuff. This night food ice cream, it's a lower sugar product, different flavors that have ingredients in them associated with helping you sleep. So a niche space. We don't all need to go and jump and make a night food ice cream product that goes against this, but definitely an eye catcher. And a lot of people are having trouble sleeping these days, or we're having trouble sleeping. So something to turn to that is actually natural versus a pill. And then Tremona on the bottom has come out with, again, speaking to the natural health and wanting, we can revive, we can refresh, we can protect with cultures or different functional ingredients. Here are just some interesting new beverages, again, to show you where dairy is showing up and you not necessarily know it. Bubble tea is like the bubble tea that one would get from a tea cafe. This is a canned product that does have the tapioca pearls in it. The product in the middle is actually from Ocean Spray. It's a clear beverage, and it's got 10 grams of dairy protein in it, and they're touting the I Need Power. And then the sated beverage is all about the keto diet, which I do think is a trend that's, going to evolve into something else down the road. But, and again, not everyone needs to be in the keto space. It is saturated, I guess, across all food and beverage categories, but an opportunity for right now for consumers who want to revenge spend, explore and try new things. In the ice cream space, lots of innovation going on with new textures. Retail ice cream fared very well as a comfort food this past year, but after a while, it does kind of get a little old, and the marketers recognize that, and so they are really coming out with some fun, cool new things. We have these Klondike bars, or cones that have sauce in the middle. Boba, earlier I talked about, the boba beverage. Well, this is a frozen bar that has the tapioca pearls in it. Haagen-Dazs has everything gooey and crunchy and crackable and so many different versions of texture. But on the product on the bottom, yeah, I really have to say I I'm very impressed by their thinking out of the box with the Klondike. It's what they're calling a Klondike shake in a pouch. It is sold frozen, and you're supposed to just leave it on the counter for like maybe 5-10 minutes, kind of knead it a little bit with your hands to warm it up and make it pliable, so that you can squeeze it out of the pouch and you have that milkshake type taste that you maybe would have gotten from a burger, fry, and shake joint if we weren't kind of holding back from going out. Limited edition and seasonal products are, when I gave an earlier, like the earlier presentation, I recognized after going back in time, it was around 2010. It was after that recession that we had in the late 2000s, where limited edition and seasonal really took off. And I mean, we've had this for some time, but it was really expanding into categories where you maybe weren't used to seeing it. And why? Well, consumers are willing to dig down deep into their pockets and spend a little more in order to feel like they're in some kind of holiday spirit. And so when we were getting out of the recession back then, people just wanted to feel a little happier. Well, guess what they want to do right now, right? Everyone's just looking for excitement and something new to try. These are all products that are cheese products, all cheese products. Aldi does an absolutely fabulous job of doing limited edition and seasonal products. And this year, they kick butt in the cheese category. I am sorry, but that on the right side, the make you melt, these are little, I think it was 6, I can't actually see what it says there, but I think it was 6 little individually wrapped cheese chunks in a box for Valentine's Day. Now, being a non-chocolate person and somebody who also doesn't care for sweets too much, that is the kind of Valentine I wanted. I bought it for myself. You know, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, right? So again, we're still not venturing out as much as we were pre-pandemic. It is starting to open up, but cautiously. However, most of us are all very much into cooking fatigue. I mean, I'm just, besides the fact that I write about it, I talk about it, and then I have to cook it, I just don't even want to eat it half the time anymore. I really am dying to go out. So hence the Grubhub that I'm going to be ordering tonight, just to have something different. But consumers are still going to look for shortcuts in the kitchen. And now might be the time to expand and get a little bit more creative with this simmer sauce here. This is actually an Aldi product. It's a sour cream base with mushrooms and cheeses. So basically it's a glorified sour cream dip with identifiable chunks in there, and you just brown the chicken up, add the sauce, and then with noodles, and you got a meal. And it's a fresh product. These pre-portioned salted butter balls. This was Creekside. They were primarily a supplier to restaurants and hospitality. Well, that went away, and they had all these little butter balls, so they got into retail. But it's a nice way to dress up a product and make you feel a little special. I'm going to wrap up by showing how a number of dairies are, again, nobody isn't staying in their lane anymore. This is the perfect example of dairy processors living in this non-linear world. These are egg bites, sous vide egg bites, but there are other options out there and other varieties with snack packs. I've even seen a slice of cheese with a piece of bacon in the middle and calling it a breakfast taco and individually wrapped. Excuse me. I'm talking too fast. I hope I don't get the hiccups. I apologize. But nevertheless, again, not staying in your lane and still being a dairy. We have Dutch Farms and Organic Valley both doing it. The company in the middle is just doing this on their own. And last but not least, definitely not staying in your lane. Laughing Cow celebrating 100 years of being that little wedge in that round container, hooked up with a cake company to create these a layered cake using the Laughing Cow cheese as a frosting. But it's that kind of innovation that really gets consumers interested and will keep dairy relevant and won't scare them away. So with ending and closing here, I'm going to provide you with this quote. If you are always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. And I know we all, well, frankly, I'm really not normal after this past year. I think we all got a little crazy in us. And so push it to the limits and let's just see how amazing we can all be with dairy innovation. And again, keeping dairy relevant to today's consumer and tomorrow's consumer who we don't know what they're going to be. I am up for questions.
Thank you so much, Donna. And we really appreciate the timely information about the importance of innovation and the examples. I think that's it's going to be a resonating theme throughout the today and tomorrow. So thank you. We do have time for a few questions. So for those of you who posted already, thank you so much. For those who have questions, please add them to the chat window. I'm happy to read those out to you, Donna, or you can go through them.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
Yeah,
why don't you read them out to me? Because otherwise I'm going to be going up front, taking my glasses on, glasses off.
I think so too. All right. So one question is, what kind of sugar alternatives are being used with any success in reduced sugar dairy and plant-based products?
Good question. Definitely skewing towards what we would call as natural, or better off maybe saying not an artificial sweetener. Varied blends. It seems like most products that are most products who are claiming to have no added sugar are relying on lactose, and oftentimes are lactose free. So they're using the lactase enzyme to break down the lactose to have a sweeter inherent milk sugar. And then they also tend to be supplementing with the most common really are stevia and monk fruit, usually together. We're seeing a little bit more with allulose making it into that space. But it definitely is more blends together. Erythritol a little bit, but it's a blended process. But I think that it's a difficult answer to question because it depends upon the product and what else is in there. If it's a yogurt with a fruit prep, you know, so, but that kind of toolbox of non-nutritive sweeteners.
Excellent, thank you. Next question is, besides the DFA milk alternative blended product entry, are there other lactose-free entries in other categories? So how prevalent is lactose-free as an attribute?
Very. And I probably should have emphasized that a little bit more. I would definitely encourage going forward, especially if you're trying to lower the added sugars. Taking your product to be lactose free really helps. Again, the lactase enzyme breaks down the lactose into 2 monosaccharides that have a much sweeter taste than the disaccharide of being lactose. So that assists in that place. But just being lactose free, I like to always say there are many consumers out there who think, who real or perceived claim to be lactose intolerant or sensitive to lactose. So remove that variable. If lactose is the only thing that is preventing someone from buying dairy and then switching over to plant-based, put the lactase in there and or use ultrafiltration or whatever and make the lactose free claim. So there's it almost seems that I would like to say it's the way to go with value added higher end premium products.
Great, thank you. There are a number of either plant-based or blended products in Oregon and the Pacific Northwest. Do you see other regional products as well? So is this both a national and a regional and a branded opportunity for blended products?
Well, I'm not aware of those products. So whoever asked that question, I would really love if you would shoot me an email and share some of that with me. I'm aware of it. Only really, the DFA product is the national company, but even they're only rolling it out in a regional basis. It's not available nationally. There are definitely in the nutritional beverage space, so shelf-stable protein beverages, meal replacements, that's where you'll find quite a few blended protein products, simply because it's pretty challenging to, they're trying to reach a very high level of protein per serving, and it's hard to do that with just one protein type. So if you combine dairy with maybe one or two other plant proteins, pea is one of the more popular ones. And so then you can get more protein per serving, and they are shelf-stable products, and many of those are national brands. I don't have it at the tip of my tongue to say, but I mean, we're talking like the Nestle and Abbott's of the world.
Okay, thank you. And we'll make sure that we follow up with you.
Yeah, I'd really like to know. Please do. I mean, normally I'd be out there right now, and I would have gone to like a bunch of your different grocery stores, including the smaller natural products ones. Well, that's not happening. Next year, right?
Yep. Next question. This is more, kind of a manufacturing implications to bringing plant-based products into dairy plants. As you've talked to processors, how do they talk about how they're managing kind of CIP and other changeover, just kind of managing these different ingredients in their plants?
I really can't answer that question because I really haven't talked to plant managers to get their perspective on what they're doing. So sorry, I don't have that information.
Okay, great. One question that I had was about just packaging innovation. So, are there trends that you're seeing even outside the US that are important for us to be kind of paying attention to beyond the examples that you shared today?
There has been a growing emphasis on recyclability of packaging, and I can tell you right now that after we get through this pandemic and everything being individually wrapped, and this abuse of packaging, which we all know is happening. I mean, put it this way, there's no problem right now with individually wrapped plastic straws anymore, right? I mean, it was like right before the pandemic that was like the buzzword. Everyone was getting rid of their straws, and that's not an issue. So I do think once we kind of get back and settle in, packaging is going to be a huge issue and a huge concern. I do think that for the most part, dairy processors have been pretty on top of it right along. I mean, we are very much, other than the gallon of milk, and a few other commodity type products, we've been playing in the convenience single serve space for a very, very long time. I mean, everything from yogurt cups to yogurt squeeze tubes to string cheese to even little creamers at the cafe. So packaging has always been important, and I think it just needs to be, and that is definitely a big thing overseas. As far as packaging form and innovation, I don't think there's been a lot going on right now. And again, that has to do with the fact that everyone had to pivot, readjust. You had alcohol manufacturers making hand sanitizer, and then you had, school milk went away. So what are we going to do there? So there's been a lot of chaos. So I can't answer that and say anything with definitive, but I can say that packaging is going to be critical going forward.
Great. One last question. Do dairy alternative products produced by traditional dairy processors have to be dairy-free, so certified or third-party label tested to compete and survive in the market, given that there would be on the label may contain traces statement on the label?
I am not sure about that. I'm not aware, and my apologies for not being aware of that. I mean, I know of the, the gluten-free, the certification that's out there, and I know that there's lactose-free certification out there. I'm going to guess that the answer is if you're claiming to be vegan, you definitely need some kind of evaluation to make that claim, because, for example, taking it out of the dairy space, but when White Castle and actually, I think even Burger King, when they were rolling out their Impossible Burger or Beyond Burger, whatever it was that they were rolling out, and they were flagging the fact that they were offering it, they did have a disclaimer to say that it's still made on the same equipment as regular beef burgers. So therefore, they can't guarantee it's a vegan product. So I think if you're putting vegan on something, you do need to, guarantee that, or you're just bracing yourself for a lawsuit. But I can't tell you who's doing that or what the test is on that. So
Great. Thank you. Well, we're out of time, but we all thank you so much for joining us, and sorry it was so hard of work to find a place to present to